Well, welcome, y'all. Come on, give yourselves a hand for being here for week number 4. I think we're in week number 4. Now, you're going to start off. I do have it. So this is the jar of marbles. In there, we talk about getting a jar, getting some marbles, and it's really great for all ages. And the purpose of it is training. So I'm training with a butterfly knife, trying to do it cool. But I don't have a real blade in it. I have a training blade because Scotty doesn't want to go to urgent care. So I have, right? And the same thing for you. We need to have a time, 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks of training with our children before we begin to get to discipline. And so this works all the way for your teenagers, all the way down to your 3-year-old, all the way down in there of getting a jar. You got 5, it starts off with 5 marbles. The way that it works is you set a goal with your children, right? You say, all right, at the end of 1 week, if you have 10 marbles in your jar, then we will, if it's a teenager, maybe you get to go out on Friday night to the football game, or maybe you get some extra screen time, something reasonable. And for a younger kid, we're going to Peter Piper. I'll take you down to Wally World, and we'll buy a little toy or something, just something to encourage them. So it's all about when you exceed our expectations or if you go below our expectation. The first week, we probably have lower expectations, and that's okay. Each week, our expectations are going to raise up. So more is going to be expected out of our children. So week 1, pretty easy. Like your teenager, never does their chores, so we're not really taking away marbles. Week 1, it's like if you do your chores without me telling you, you're going to get a marble, right? If I ask you to do something and you don't stomp down the hallway, you're going to get a marble. Same thing for your 3-year-old or 4-year-old. If you don't whine, you're going to get a marble. If you say please, right, all of them. If you say please when you're supposed to, you'll get a marble. That's week 1. They're probably going to get 10 marbles. Week 2, we sit them down again and go, all right, expectations raised. I found out that you can do your chores on your own. We found that out. That's the new expectation. So if you don't do your chores, then you lose a marble. And if they get down to 0 marbles, you go, bad news, when we get to discipline, something crazy is going to happen at that point. I'm just letting you know ahead of time, this is practice, right? But if you still get up to 10, well, how do they get to 10 now? Well, you do more than expected. So they do more than their expected chores. They do a little extra, like life rewards extra, right? Maybe you went out of your way to do something kind for your sibling. That's extra, right? So anytime they go beyond your expectation, they get a marble, and anytime they go below it. So the kids were pretty young. I think Baylor was like 5 at the time. Lakin was probably maybe 9 or 10. We were down Christmas shopping at Arizona Mills, and we're trying to leave there, right? And it was crazy. There's the little exit, and it was a gajillion people, and there's a line that you're supposed to be in to get out, and then there's the cheating line. Do you guys know what line that is? The people that don't get in line and they cut ahead of everybody and then expect you to let them in. You know what I'm talking about? The people that I don't know if they're going to heaven. No, I'm just teasing. And so, no. These people, they greatly disturb me. But I'm a pastor, and I do walk in a level of grace and mercy. So my rule of thumb for life is I'll let one of you jerks in. That's all you get. I'll never let 2. I'll always let 1, but I will never let 2. So we get up to the point. I let the person, get in there, I smile, have a good day, good, I'm a giver, right? Let them in. And then the second car, right, tried to squeeze in aggressively, at which point, I'm still kind, I just looked at him and I go, no, right? And he goes, yes. And I went, oh no, not going to happen. And then he gets a little closer, and then something inside of me goes, and so then I get closer because I go, I'll crash this car before I let you in. I want you to know that. If getting into heaven meant letting you in, I would burn in hell. That's how determined I am. I told him, I'm at the car. I'm going, you're not getting in. I swear to you, you'll never get in. And he gets closer, and I get closer, right? And I'm going, nope, not going to happen. And then finally we get to the point, because I'm in the lane where he can't get in, and I win, and I was victorious. And I felt great victory, and I thought my family would be so proud of their dad for standing his ground. And Baylor from the back goes, Dad loses a marble. Yeah, 100%. It's fine. I'll lose a marble. It was worth a marble to me. So the marble things is fun. Have fun with it. Well, hello. How are you? All right. Today, we were talking about, I probably say this every week, but to me, it's one of the most important aspects of everything that we are doing. So our scripture tonight is going to be Proverbs 25:28. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. You know, if we raise up teenagers to adults who don't have self-control, it's like that city back then that has holes in the wall where the enemy can just come and go and get and take and really destroy their life. And I want you to see in your mind that if in a scale of self-control that you have built up into your teenager, the lower the self-control, the greater the damage and destruction they will do in their teenage years. The greater the self-control, the smaller amount of the damage and destruction. And I know we live in a culture and a day that there's not a lot of self-control out there, right? It's instant gratification. Let me get what feels right now, but that destroys a teenager's life. Whether it's through promiscuity, whether it's through not going to school, not getting good grades, whether it is through aggressiveness, whether it's stomping through the house and smashing things in the house, and whatever level that your teenagers have, lacking self-control, the crazier life will get, right? But here's what's exciting for you. I don't care how old your children are. You could have a 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, doesn't matter. That self-control is a muscle that can be built. And it could be for you adults out there. Maybe you have trouble with self-control. Well, you can start building that muscle by simply exercising self-control. Fruit of the Spirit is self-control is one of the fruits of the Spirit, which is interesting because the fruits of the Spirit, right, it's the product of living a Spirit-filled life. So when I do the things of the Bible, there are fruits or things that are produced in my life. One of the things is self-control. So once again, biblically speaking, the more that I control myself, the more self-control I have. And the earlier we can begin to teach our children self-control, right, the more self-control they will have at a younger age. Obviously, if you have a 14-year-old and they don't have an extreme amount of self-control, good news. We can start right this week, right, begin to build that muscle up of self-control for them.
Obviously, we can't control other people, so there are going to be times in our life when things happen that aren't kind or aren't fun, and our kids are going to experience, those moments when you're asking or requiring something of them, and they don't want to do it in that moment. And yeah, the knee-jerk reaction, doesn't feel great. It's not like you can, mind control what's going to happen in a given moment and just choose to be happy about it. The point is that when things happen at us, when things happen to us, when we ask or require something of our children, the initial emotion may not be one of joy. I don't find joy when my daughter calls and says, I left my lunchbox at home. Can you bring it to me? I don't immediately go, sure, that's so fun. I was wanting to do that. But in that moment, I have a decision, I have a choice of where I go from that knee-jerk moment, the moment that it happens at me. I can decide, okay, in this moment, there's two things I can choose. I can choose to be really annoyed by it, or I can choose to just smile through it. And the younger the kid is, the more you are giving them such an amazing, is it
gift.
Skill? It is a gift.
It is a gift.
Because we do live in a society right now that is having a really hard time with self-control. They're having a really hard time taking accountability. There's a huge blame game that goes on in our world right now because people don't want to take accountability, and it starts with the whole ability to take control. Choose to be okay. Choose to be happy, and find that you can in that moment. One of the greatest things we would do with our little ones when they were having their frustration, and this is just a really easy tool. You just use your words and say, smile right now. I want you to stop. I want you to smile right now. And require them to choose a different emotion in that moment. And watch and see as you demand it out of them, watch and see that they're able to do it. And then you go, see, in this moment, you're able to find happy. You're able to find okay. You're able to find not mad, right? Even just not mad is great. And so I think it's really important For those of you who have little ones, start tomorrow. Start tomorrow by requiring your child to give you a different attitude in those moments when they want to be frustrated, and show them that they actually have it within them. And get excited when they do. Get excited when you require a different emotion and they produce it. Go, see, how amazing of that amazing gift on the inside of you for you to be able to choose in that moment how you're going to feel and to control your emotions, control your actions. Never, ever, ever allow a little one to slap at you, grab that little hand and go, oh no. You love mama, you love daddy, and watch and see that it doesn't produce something.
Building that muscle. Self-control is simply the ability to control oneself, to make good decisions. Last week we talked about wisdom and understanding, but you can know all the right things to do, even understand it, but if you don't have the self-control to be able to apply it to your life, it's useless. Useless information. Know everything right to do, but you don't do it. And so we have to be vigilant. One of the most important things that you will teach your children is the ability to control themselves, which I like what Holly was saying because it goes right down to controlling your emotions. Imagine as an adult, right? The spouse is having a bad time and lashes out, but they have the self-control in them to control their emotions, to love back, because that's what the Bible says. The Bible says, give somebody that's harsh a kind word, and it gets rid of that anger and that frustration. So we're teaching our children from the age of 0, right? In the chapter we talk about it, all the way until ever, we're teaching them, right? Working on them to be able to control themselves, to make the right decisions in the right way for the right reasons through life. Now, there'll be different stages of self-control. Did you have something else?
Yeah, I was just going to say really fast that that's not saying that that we undermine those moments where they do feel frustrated, or that we undermine those moments where they are mad or where they are angry. Emotions are great, and it's okay, and I think it's important that we, in a sense, validate that they feel the way they feel in the moment, but then showing them that they can move from that. And that's why it's so important to say, I know you're feeling really frustrated right now, however, and then move into the next, what you need them to choose. So it's really great for us to identify, I know that made you mad, however, or but, this is where we need to head with that. So it's not discounting that there aren't going to be moments. We're not living in denial. I don't want to raise children that are like, they're never able to like have an emotion that's opposite of what I demand they have in that moment. And I validate that, and I acknowledge that it might make them feel something or feel a certain way in that moment. But I think what grows them is showing them that in the midst of feeling, and even with merit, to feel the way they feel, that they can still choose. There are times he makes me so mad, and there's good merit behind it.
There's no merit.
There is lots of merit behind it.
None at all.
But in the moment, reacting in that anger and frustration never produces any great decision. And so we are our most greatest problem solving. We do the greatest conflict resolution when we're coming from a place of calm and wise and peaceful. And so showing our kids that they can feel a certain way, but they can also move out of it, and that it's advantageous to do that, is the skill, and it is the growth that happens. I just wanted to say that part.
Be angry and sin not.
So good.
So you can be angry. You can be angry,
Yes.
but you can't lash out at mom, right? So remember our standard. So Holly's saying, yes, you're angry. I get it. You're frustrated. We're not letting you do blah, blah, blah. I get that. That's fine. But it doesn't give you the freedom to sin. So you don't get to slam the door down the hall. You don't go stomping down the hallway. You can be upset. You can be mad. You don't get to dishonor us, right? You don't get to ever put your hands on us or put your hands on your brother because he made you angry, So yes, we validate and say, yes, you can have the emotions. What you cannot have is things that causes you to do things that are unbiblical in the relationship. And so those are things that we'll deal with in later chapters. Once again, our easiest thing, especially with the young ones, but you can do it with the teenager. You can be mad, go to your room. When you're happy, come back out. In the morning, they come out grumpy. We don't do grumpy in the Anderson home. Go to your bedroom, come out for breakfast with a big smile on your face. And they usually won't even make it down the hallway, come back, and then have a forced smile. And then it doesn't take but a few minutes, and they're happy. It's just life. Because I cannot raise a child that can't control their emotions enough, that they're the ones in the office who everybody knows when they're angry and upset because they don't have the ability to put on a good attitude even in the midst when there are storms in life. So, angry but sin not. So, self-control is a muscle that you and I build up. You can't allow your child at 0, 1, 2 to go wherever they want in the house, touch whatever they want, right? Turn the TV on and off, right? Go anywhere. They have no boundaries, no nothing, right? You have to put everything up high, and then all of a sudden you put them in kindergarten, and they go sit here for an hour, and they can't. And then they go, well, we got to medicate that child. Well, no, here's the problem. The child just hasn't been built up to self-control. So even if you have a child that's medicated now, all you need to do is work on self-control with that child. It may just be sitting for 5 minutes. And the next day we're going to sit for 6 minutes and just color. We're going to sit for 7 minutes. What am I doing? I'm developing that muscle of focus, that a child can focus and they can have self-control, but we have to learn to teach them. We have to teach them to have that self-control. So we're building that muscle up. One of the key things that we have to know, I call it the airplane. So the way the airplane works in life is that between the ages of 0 and 4, but now you may have teenagers and they don't have self-control, so you start off wherever they're at. So you may have a 12-year-old. But the goal is, for you younger parents, right, the first is I'm driving the airplane. You're in the passenger seat, meaning what? That I'm making pretty much your decisions. If you can't control yourself, I have to control you. So don't touch, grab, right? No, we don't do this, we don't throw, right? So I'm pretty much in control of your world. There'll be a shift that happens after that, somewhere around 4 years old. But for you, if you have teenagers, it might be in a week, might be in a couple weeks, where all of a sudden you're like, okay, let me get in the passenger seat. Now you're driving the airplane, and now, right, I'm just giving you direction, right? I can always take the wheel back from you, but for the most part, I'm helping you develop self-control. You're making decisions. But then there comes a time where now Dad, Mom, we're on the ground, they're up flying, and I'm giving you instructions from the ground. And if I'm going to let you fly, I have to make sure I don't want you to crash your life. I don't want you to crash your plane, right? So I may have to ground you in a sense. I may have to bring back and get control of the airplane again if you're not making good decisions in your life. Remember this for Train Up a Parent. You are responsible to make your child's decisions for them until they can make good decisions. If you can't make good decisions, then you don't get to decide. If your child can't pick good friends in junior high, you lose that responsibility. I don't know what to tell you. You just lost it. Why is that? Because I will not allow you to crash your life. And I think if anything you grab out of tonight, you have to grab a sense on the inside of you that you will do whatever it takes to make sure that your child doesn't destroy their life. Whatever that takes, whatever that is, right? Because it seems like too many parents, when they get to teenage years, they go, what do you do? And I go, what do you mean, what do you do? You do the same thing you would have done when they were 4. If you were at a park and some creepy guy tried to grab their hand, you would do everything you could to destroy that and keep your child. Why is it then you have a 15, 16-year-old daughter dating a 25-year-old loser, and then I meet with you and you're like, what do you do? I don't know. I told her, we told her no, but she just sneaks out. I go, you do whatever it takes, right? If I have to put bars on the window and handcuff you to me every night, No, I'm being honest with you. That's what I would do. I won't lose because your future is more important. So whatever I have to do to win is what I will do to win. If you can't pick good friends, then you get no friends. My dad had to do that to me when I was in high school. It's like I did some things, had a bad friend, and which is funny because that friend now is still in jail. He's been in jail for 25 years, right? And my dad's like, don't hang out. I still hung out with him. So my dad goes, you have no friends. I'm your only friend. You hang out with me now. Hope you be good to me because I'm your only friend. And that was one of the best things for me at that time. So if you can't pick a good friends, you don't get to pick them. If you can't pick a good boyfriend, people go, well, what age can my daughter date? You tell me, right? If she's 16, if she's 17 years old picking a loser, she's not ready to date, right? Because you don't have the ability to choose. So I have to make my child's choices for them until they are able to make good choices. I may give you a choice, but what happens is if you make bad choices, then I have to remove that choice for a period of time. And every kid ages or develops at different ages. Some kids are able to do things at different younger ages than others, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when we have a set age, and we're like, all right, here's your age, but then one child's not ready for that responsibility at that age. So I have to be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure my child will not destroy. And oftentimes that means that they will, oftentimes that means that they will not like me in that period of their life. But I'm going to give you a fact. When they're in their late 20s, they'll go, you know what, Dad, I was really upset with you. I really hated you when I was 16 years old. But I want to say to you, I have friends who really destroyed their life at that age. And so I want to give you a thank you for loving me so much. You loved me so much that you were willing to lay down your love that I had for you in that moment, in that time. So I'm planning for the future. I will not allow my children ever to destroy their lives.
And I think it's important to pay attention to new friendships or even just new stimuli in your kids' lives. If you see like shifts in their behavior, the greatest thing you could ask yourself is, what's new? What's changed in the past month that could be making your children react in a different way or start to act differently or behave differently? And that's not to say that cognitively, especially with little ones as they get a little bit older, that they're not going to change as they, get wiser and smarter, because that'll happen too. But I remember when Scott was talking, it reminded me of we used to have this fake dress-up arsenal. Like we had every sword and...
I was trying to figure out where you were going. I was like, this is not a marriage conference.
No.
Oh, that was comedy. You all missed that.
It's a good thing. So we had like lots of dress-up stuff. Like our boys were, but they
had all the swords, the Jedi stuff,
and all the Star Wars stuff. Yes,
cowboy.
And I just remembered there was a season where they started getting really aggressive with each other, and more so than normal, and being really mean, and just they just got to this point where it was like a knee-jerk reaction to just lash out at each other. And I remember just kind of thinking about it and asking, God, okay, give me some wisdom on this. What's changed? Because not a whole lot has changed. And then I remember just paying really close attention to one of our days, and I realized what they gravitated to in that day. And it was this dress-up stuff, and they would play, fake fighting, and they played with little fake fighting men, and it was just everything was built around this aggression. And so I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and eliminate that for a little while. So I let them know I'm gonna put this away. This is gonna be off limits, and you're not getting along. You're not being kind to each other, and you can be masculine and boy and whatever, but you can do it and also be nice and not be
self-control,
aggressive and harmful. And so sure enough, took it away. And I said, when I can see that you guys are treating each other just respectfully and nicely as siblings and brothers need to, then we'll bring it back out. So it's not gone forever. It's just gone until you can have some self-control. And sure enough, that was the catalyst. So pay attention to stimuli, pay attention to new friendship, pay attention to social media, or a daughter that just got a phone, or,
phone check.
Yeah, we do phone check.
Mm-hmm. Anytime. I always can check your phone 24/7. And if you whine about it, then you just don't get a phone because you can't handle the responsibility of a phone. Once again, I give you responsibility, but if you can't handle it, and I like what Holly said about stimuli, because certain video games or TV shows, and I think sometimes parents allow certain things into their kids' life to get in when they're not emotionally ready to be able to handle those types of things. And so you have to, you let them watch this, and all of a sudden you're seeing a behavior, you're like, oh, it's not their fault. Ultimately, you go, Mom and Dad are sorry, or Dad's sorry, we can't watch that, right, until you get a little bit older. It's just, as Holly said, it's just not good for you. We're playing a video game, and it's a fighting video game maybe, their brothers plays, and they're fine with it, but they're younger, and they just can't handle it. You're just like, hey, sorry, when you get a little bit older, we'll try it again and see what happens, but right now it's just not appropriate for you because you cannot handle it, and that's okay, because kids can handle different things at different ages. Our job is to make sure that I don't give them things. The Bible even says that. He says, the Bible says you'll be pressed on this side and this side and this side, but I make sure that you're not crushed. And we have to be the same way. That in life, yes, we want our children to grow. We want them to get more self-control, but I have to make sure that I don't give them too much self-control in which that it crushes them. And so if they can't handle the responsibility as a teenager of being home at 11, before 11, because remember, everything I do is training you for adulthood. So if I say be home at 11 and you come home at 11:05, that's late. You didn't have the self-control. You didn't have the self. Now, I get it. If you called me, 25 minutes early and said, oh, my gosh, there's traffic or whatever else, something happened, and it doesn't happen all the time, yeah, I'll give you a pass. But you just showed up at 5 minutes late. You're late. I'm sorry. Okay, so next week you have to be home at 10. What, 10? No, what do you mean? Yeah, because you couldn't handle 11. Let's see if you can handle 10. And if you do 10 for a little while, then I'll boost you back up to 11. But know this, if you come in late at 10, you won't get to go out for a little while. Once again, because I don't want to raise up a child that is late for work and late for appointments. I'm not going to raise that. Everything that I do is training you to have the self-control going, I got to be home at 11. I better make sure that I get home, as I teach my children, get home 15 minutes early. So you're home at 10:45. That way you have a little bit of cushion so that when you go to get to work one day, instead of getting there right at 8 a.m., you get there at 7:45. And you got a little traffic, you got there at 7:55. So once again, we are managing or helping our children with self-control.
It didn't work for me tonight.
Well, and next week you're going to have to be at 6:30. So that's all we're going to do.
I promise.
So the key things to be working on self-control: fits, whining. I want a glass of water. It's annoying. It's an annoying adult. So how do you teach self-control with that? You just simply go. Holly goes, set a little timer on the microwave or on her phone, and go, all right, when this goes off, come back and you can ask me correctly. There's a little bit of pain with that. They have to walk away. They have to wait 5 minutes, and then they come back and they go, please, may I have a glass of water? Well, of course you can have a glass of water, right? And fits are the same way. Which one? I think one of the, yes. So let me this is a huge one for really starting at zero. I mean, really, self-control starts at zero. Once we don't pick up a child every time they cry, because the child learns that they can control your entire world by simply crying. Not a good thing. That's in the book. Room time it starts off with playpen time. What a great way to teach a child self-control. Here you go. Here's a couple toys. Sit in the playpen for about 15, 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, or a room.
But it goes, as you get older, then they move to the room, right? Mm-hmm. So when they're about 2.5, 3 years old, right, somewhere maybe 2, whatever you think, they're in the room, got a little table, got a little puzzle, got a little something. There you go. Have 20 minutes, 30. Actually, it works up to about by the time they're 3, I think we did like 30 minutes, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Go ahead. You're better at this. I mean, you navigated this during the day most of the time.
Well, yeah, and they're not going to like it. And especially if you haven't done it and you start to implement it. Now, Lakin and Heath did not like it because they were older when we implemented this. But Baylor and Peyton, we did this from the moment I could start doing this.
Yes, we did.
And they were imaginative. They were creative. But more than that, I think they were a joy to other people. I could take them to, other people's homes and I could say, hey, here's where their kids play, or here's where you're going to stay tonight, while me and Dad are over here hanging with the adults. I did not entertain my children, and other adults did not entertain my children when we were out with other adults.
No.
My children entertained themselves. And all of us can think of kids that we've had to bring into the adult time. And it's just not what you do. That's called a play date, and that's with kids their age. And room time really helps establish this. It helps them to know that they can be creative and they can manage themselves in their own time without having to be
self-control.
Adult-led. So it's just teaching child-led activity is what it's teaching. Not every activity has to be an adult-led activity. It's important to teach our kids this because, like Pastor Scott said, we get them into school then and they can't sit. And it's mean. It's mean that we've not taught them at home that they have the power within them to control their body, to control their hands, to control their talking, and they can entertain themselves. It's mean to then go put them in school and say, here, you have to sit here for 30 minutes, or even 15 minutes for some kids is excruciating. Well, not if you've taught them at home how to entertain themselves, how to play by themselves, how to enjoy their own company. That's a huge thing. In teaching our kids, enjoy your own company. Get creative. Learn how to be imaginative. It's a big one.
And you hit on something, you don't even know all of the benefits until you can look back on it. To be able to take 5 kids out to a restaurant, to have a 3-year-old can sit there and just color and be quiet, not jumping around everything for the entire meal, and then have a 5-year-old, have a 7-year-old, have a 9-year-old. To be able to take them, as Holly said, to somebody's house, but a restaurant's the big one, right? You've been out to a restaurant where the kids like running around and doing it, and the child has no ability to sit there with self-control, not be loud, and to simply color while the adults are talking, and be happy doing it.
Well, and not only that, but come on, moms. Like, I had a lot to do during my day.
And
now, I
yes.
played with my kids, and I hung out with them, and up until they were 3 and 4, I actually did school with them myself. So, but I still had all the other mom, wife, and then church lady things to do. So I literally was like, I cannot, it can't be done in an hour and a half nap time. I'm not going to get everything done in an hour and a half when you go to bed, and I'm not going to aspire to do that. You can go play by yourself or give them a sibling. But for me,
You say give them a sibling.
well, let them go play with friends. Or,
Yeah, you're right.
but for
right.
me,
But no matter what, they needed to have the room time.
they had to have that. And
Twice a day.
I had
It
stuff
was
I
in
had
the
to
morning and it was in the afternoon. Twice a day, sit and it teaches them focus, teaches them self-control, building up that muscle. Amen? And I think that's it. Let me find. Oh, interrupt rule. This is a good one. Self-control. So any age, I love it. And you'll see, me and Holly we actually demonstrate this all throughout. So as soon as Holly does this, I realize that she has something that she wants to interrupt with and say. You teach your children, you started at 2. You started at 1. I think that we are actually with Honey, we were already doing some stuff with Honey. She's 1. And Olive is great at it. So yeah, it's very simple. You ever see that kid where you're talking as adults and they come up? And we had this when we were in Boston. Some kept talking to the parents and like, and I'm like, who are you? Why are you doing it? Mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? It's annoying. It's a child, you haven't taught self-control, that other people are important, that the whole world doesn't stop and revolve around you. The interrupt rule is very simple. If I'm on the phone, if I'm talking, right, I'm doing something, the child comes up and they simply put their hand right here, right? And what mom will do, she puts her hand and says, okay, I realize you're there. I know it. When I get a break, I will, right? And in the beginning, you have to take a break real soon because they're like, Mom, I'm interrupting you properly. What's going on?
So
I have my hand on you.
So you put your hand on them to let them know, I see you need me. I got it. And then I'll say, excuse me, but I need to answer this question really quick. Excuse me just a second. What annoying person do you want?
Very annoying person do you want? Once again, though, see, everything that we're teaching you through this entire program are all the little things that add up to something huge. That once again, everything is parenting today for what I want tomorrow. I want to raise up a child who the world does not revolve around them. That they are not the ones that think that life stops when they walk in the room, but instead other people matter. What people are doing is important. So you start this. I would start it obviously this week. Do it with your junior high. Not that you want your 18-year-old going. Right? I don't think Lakin does it anymore, does he? But as they gravitate, out of junior high and stuff, it's more of they just are here, and you can tell that they're here and have something, and you're like, oh, hold on, excuse me. But in the younger years, you start teaching them with the interrupt rule. Amen?
Yeah, and I want to go back.
Which you and I still do it to each other.
We do.
We do.
It's great because it just is saying, hey, I got something. It's a real.
And they don't get to do this. They don't get to go.
way.
Like, this is annoying.
But here's the thing. Like you said it. But Olive, like
Yeah,
I
she's so
literally am so convinced. You would be hard pressed to be able to convince me that a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old cannot do this.
Oh, Olive
because
is
we
phenomenal at
because
it.
we see them do it,
Yes.
and it comes with it's kind of what you said. It's cause and effect. So right away, I'll put my hand there, and I've seen Lakin put his hand on her, and it's just letting them know I know you want me, and then right away getting
At 3.
yes, when they're younger, and it just really it just backs up what he says.
When they're 4 and 5, and use the marbles to teach it this week. Just teach your children, hey, interrupt rule, this is what we do. And when they do it, they get a marble. When they do it, and then the next week, if they interrupt, then they lose a marble, like I said in the beginning. Anyway, dear Father, Lord, bless them, guide them, direct them, give them an epic, amazing, awesome, unbelievable week. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Give the Lord a hand clap if you learned anything at all.